everyone. Thank you for joining us today, this morning, this evening, depending on where you are. A lot of familiar faces, always great to see that. Fantastic. Okay, we still have people just rolling in. So we are now just about 80 people. Okay, we'll wait a minute for everybody to kind of roll in. I'm super excited. I've known Dandan for a while. If you might have come across her on LinkedIn as well. She creates. She's prolific with her content creation. I wish I could. And a lot of it is very hard hitting, no fluff kind of advice. A lot of her content comes from a very real place, and that's what I really liked about her, and reached out, and here we are. So just in case you don't know Dandan, she's a mom, a real estate investor, and a recruiter. She has I think more than a decade of experience in recruiting. Now she runs DG Recruit, and also she coaches recruiters on how to scale their businesses, how to win candidates, win clients. And DG Recruit is a specific rec-to-rec headhunting firm. So if you're looking for new people to join your team, or if you're looking to maybe switch to a newer, better agency, then Dandan is the person you should talk to. So with that, let's dive right in. We are going to be talking about MPC, how to correctly use MPC as a tool in your business development arsenal. We have a dedicated Q&A. So we are going to keep this very interactive. We have a short presentation, after which we are going to do a Q&A. There is a Q&A section and on your Zoom screen at the bottom. Just write your questions over there, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Well, so that's my monologue. Thank you, Dandan, for joining us, and let's go.
Awesome. It's so great to see everyone here. What a packed room, and even more people rolling in. Very exciting. So I'm just going to share with you guys the presentation I prepared for us. I'm so excited to just walk you through the method that has helped me build multiple recruitment desks. Now, before we even get into MPC training, you have to be a niche headhunter for this process to work. And I've always told people you can't be really a generalist if you are running a proper desk, because in today's world, it's extremely competitive. You're trying to win the marketplace, and you want to be the best at what you do in your niche market, which is why we call it the vertical market specialism methodology. You have to be a vertical market expert from the lowest level to the highest level in the same vertical. Right? You can't say, I'm an expert at recruiting HR people. I'm also an expert at recruiting software developers. It doesn't work like that. So before we even break into MPC, I want to make sure we're on the same page, because a lot of this is going to make sense for you. As Manan shared earlier, I have been in the space since I was 23 years old, which is when I learned how to do the MPC method. Now, back in my day, we didn't even call it the MPC method. We just called it sending out great candidates. We called it sendouts. Right? So every agency is going to have a different verbiage of like what these terms are. And I think the industry has decided, well, we like the term most placeable candidate, because what you're doing is you're taking something very desirable and you are using that as bait for people to then react to you, right? So when you're talking to a client,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you click on the top right present button so that it's full screen, so people who are watching on small screens can see this?
Sorry, guys. Full screen like this?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
There we go.
See, I'm not a technologist expert. I told you, you can't be an expert at everything. So there you go. So the key here is, again, using the candidate as the way to open up the door. Because even when I was being trained, and I don't know if you would agree with me, please pop it into the comments if this is how you were trained. I was properly trained at like a big agency, right? A lot of recruiters may or may not have worked at a big agency, but at big agencies, you get properly trained by like a whole team. And these people are experts in the industry. And you also get to learn from your colleagues who are doing really well. And in our training, they said, you want to give an introductory statement like, my name is Dandan. I work at ABC Recruiting. We do recruiting for regulatory writers. This is the fastest way to lose your listeners' attention because they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your firm. They want to know what's in it for me. Why are you calling me? And you have about 30 seconds on the phone, if you're using phone, to make the client, potential client, listen to you, engage you. Is this person legit or not? Right? So that's why the MPC selling the candidate makes the most sense. And that's why we're going through the training today. So there's multiple ways that you can MPC, and all of them matter. Nowadays, we have an extra option, which I'll talk about last. But the most common options are still your phone and your email. In today's weird society, people are like, don't call people. Don't call people. Calling people is intrusive. You don't have their consent. No. We are in the business of sales. You are still allowed to call prospects. If you call them and they pick up, you are still allowed to speak to them. I get sales calls all the time, right? So I got a note the other day. Someone was like, am I still allowed to call? Of course, calling still works, right? Calling candidates, calling clients is still and should still be a decent part of your business strategy. However, how you deliver the pitch means everything. That's going to influence your return on your time. The better you are at pitching, the better results you'll see logically, right? Now, email is where we're going to talk about a lot today because email is an avenue that everyone feels comfortable with, right? The phone, some people are scared. Some people, they're like, that's just not my strong suit. I really feel intimidated. Fine. If you have no choice, email is a good second option. I'd say do them all. Like I said, do them all. But if you really feel more comfortable with email, this is better for very good writers. If you're a good writer, this email method of sending out these amazing candidates is really going to work out for you. And again, if you're not good at this particular method of communicating with people, you will also struggle. So the MPC, there's a certain methodology, certain things you should say, should not say, certain things you should do, should not do. We'll cover that later. However, you have to be very careful with what you're sending out into the universe, because whatever you send, people will read it and they will determine, is this spam or is this somebody legitimate who I want to engage with, which is why the MPC quality is so important. If the bait, referring to the bait, the previous slide, if the bait is not attractive enough, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. So you have to know what people want and to leverage what they want to have them engage with you. So we'll talk about the template in a minute. The last newer methodology of MPC selling is using social media, namely LinkedIn. Now, you see LinkedIn, a lot of recruiters are getting into this social media space. They're starting to create content around who they are, what they do, what they know about their industry, the insights they have. This is all really smart. In today's economy, the internet is a big driver of business activity. If you look at the placements I did last year or the year before, the majority of it is incoming, right? Because I spent a lot of my time creating content. So when you have a good MPC, you can sell that through your social channels as well. I got a great candidate. They're exclusively working with me. I'm really excited to talk about them. Here are the 3 top highlights. If this is a profile you're interested in, reach out to me. That's an easy social media post to create. Now, not everyone's comfortable making videos, so that's a story for another day. So those are your 3 MPC options that are the most accessible and easy for you today. The MPC process is also pretty straightforward. Like I talked about earlier at the beginning of this presentation, the niche is critical. You have to have some sort of claim to fame. Then you have to advertise your open recs. The reason why you have to advertise is no matter what, that's how you're going to get resumes. You're going to get a lot of applicants, and then you can kind of pick and choose, all right, this is what these candidate profiles are going to look like, and this is how I'm going to craft my MPCs. Market mapping is specifically related to identifying both clients and candidates in your market, because again, you are in a niche. So back in the day when I started recruiting, my market was regulatory writers. My job was very, very easy. It was to find every single pharmaceutical company in the United States and to add them to my CRM. And once I add the CRM, I can then input all of the people in that company. And so I could go at it 2 ways. I could go coach people from that firm. I could go and sell to the hiring managers in that firm, which is why your CRM is really important in today's day and age because you need a CRM to help you with emailing and sending out and tracking your sendouts and seeing your KPIs. How many sendouts did I do this week? How many hiring managers did I add today? Right? So your CRM has to be properly coded. We'll talk about that just shortly, how to properly code your CRM. And once you start building out this network into your CRM, your goal is to engage with these clients and candidates and use the MPC profiles you created specifically as it relates to business development and use that again to drive conversations, to send them out into your client network, and then really just converting those conversations into business and also supplementing with social media selling. Now, with Recruiter Flow, what I really liked about the system is that it is very customizable. Every single person, like for instance, if I'm trying to add these medical writers, I might be working with a colleague who is recruiting for biostatisticians. That is exactly the situation that you're in most agencies, right? Is that Bobby Brown does biostatisticians, Dandan does regulatory writers, Sarah does clinical data managers. So we need our own tags. And we want to be in control of our own tags. And that's why you see this tag feature here. It's really important to create your own tags, including I'll throw in my name, right? You'll see that I customize my name as one of the tags because I want to claim client or candidate ownership for that particular account. So this is also really critical to differentiate between, oh, that's my candidate, right? It's got my name tagged onto it. Don't touch that particular person. Right? So these are all the tags that you want to start thinking of. There's leveling, there's location, there's specialism, and there's also your name to claim ownership of that particular candidate. And eventually, if you do things like Golden Loop, which I talk about in my other trainings, you could throw in a tag for Golden Loop, right? This candidate is in my Golden Loop, and that's going to help you keep track of your people. Anything to add here, Manan?
No, this looks fantastic. But yeah, I mean, and in Recruiter Flow, there are dedicated features just to run your MPC campaigns, but we'll probably talk more about them during, later in the call.
Yeah, and what's very important here is you got to keep your data clean. It's got to be really straightforward and uniform. You can't change up the wording. So if you're going to say medical writing, you're just going to stick with medical writing. You're not going to say medical writing, medical writer, and then you got and the leveling is a separate tag. What you want to do is be able to then say, I want to pull up a list of senior and medical writing. That pulls up my senior medical writers. Candidates, right? So you have to understand, how does the tags interface with your eventual searches? Because that's what you're really going to use with your CRM, is you're going to search in your CRM. How do I pull up a list of all the senior medical writers in Princeton, New Jersey? That's what you want to do, because that's what's going to happen when you have a role in Princeton, New Jersey, and you want to pull up all the data. And by the way, LinkedIn data is very messy. LinkedIn just says New Jersey. It may not have Princeton. New Jersey is a very big state. Very different. We're talking Princeton versus Bergen County, where I am, right? It's a huge, huge difference in terms of distance. So that's why your CRM is really where the magic happens. And this is also why LinkedIn is not enough. It's just not a perfect tool as it relates to data and data specifics, right? Especially when you have title conflicts. So anyways, I could talk about the inadequacies of LinkedIn all day long. It's still a wonderful tool. It just doesn't do what a proper CRM needs to do, which is why every single recruiter has both. You don't see one just with LinkedIn, right? All right. So this tagging thing, here's another example. So this is what it should look like when you're done. This is a hiring manager. This is a manager level person. So now you know, okay, if I want to send a manager level candidate, I'm going to send it to Sarah because she's a director level. If I want to send a senior medical writer, I might send it to both Seth and Sarah because this is a manager level and that person's a director level. I might want to send the candidate to both, right? So this is how you want to do it. But what's the mistake that you're not going to make? You're not going to send a director level to Seth. Seth is a manager. It doesn't make sense to send a director level candidate to Seth. So you have to understand MPC is very detail oriented. You can't send the wrong profile to the wrong contact, which is again why data clarity, data accuracy is critical. Because if you keep making that mistake, Seth is going to say, what is wrong with you? How can I hire someone above me? Why do you keep sending me these senior medical directors? I am a manager level. I'm like a middle manager, right? It's a ridiculous thing to do. So that is why you got to be clear. And this is where a lot of recruiters go wrong, is they're lazy or they're not detail oriented. They just like, whatever, I'm going to throw in these tags. You got to be accurate, because you're the one that's going to be dealing with the inadequacy of your own data later down the line. Right? So data integrity is very important. Okay. So in your MPC, what do you need? In your MPC, you always want to use keywords. And this is where a lot of times you see on resumes, there are a lot of generic words. The generic words are like, this person's collaborative, people-oriented, they're very diligent and work hard. Like, that's not a keyword. Those are generic descriptors, which I don't say is bad, but you want to use hard-hitting keywords. So when I'm trying to sell a medical writer, I'm going to use 2.73, 2.74. That's something you don't understand, but that's something the hiring manager knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's a specific module and the NDA process that is specifically around getting these drugs approved. It is a high difficulty, senior level activity that not every single medical writer is going to know how to do. In other words, it's ISS or ISE. These are acronyms that my industry understands. Use those acronyms, use those keywords, cut right to the chase. I got a candidate who's considering maybe leaving. There are a lot of things going on in their current company. There's been a big merger. You know, she's just checking out the potential opportunities outside, using me directly, exclusively, as she's worked on ISS and ICs for the last 4 years, right? That's what you want to do. Something short, something sweet, something clear. And then you want to end it with a very clear call to action. And your call to action should be converting this email into a phone conversation. Listen carefully. This is a big mistake area. A lot of MPC writers that I see make a big mistake is they just say, do you like this profile? Is it interesting? Can I have some feedback? That's not a strong conversion. That's pestering someone for ideas. No, you want to convert them into hopping on the phone with you, because business happens on the telephone. It does not happen through email. What you don't want to do is get involved in a email exchange. You guys are not pen pals, right? Because the more time you waste on the email, the more trouble you'll get into, because I guarantee you the hiring manager is going to say, just send me the resume. You guys haven't talked rates. You guys haven't talked about what the role is. Are they actually hiring? These are all things you're going to find out through a proper phone discussion. So your goal in every MPC is to say, when can we hop on a call to quickly go over this candidate's background? She's taking the next 3 weeks to take on exploratory interviews. When might make sense for you and I to hop on a quick call? That's the type of language you want to use, because your goal is to start talking to the client, not, like I said, becoming their pen pal. That is not interesting. Pen pals don't make money, right? So we want to make money. We want to have a conversation. That's what you want to do. Always attach the resume if you can. Make sure it is completely blinded. And I say obliterate it so that it's unrecognizable. The dangerous thing is when you send someone a resume and they pop in a word or a language or some sort of, copy and paste, they put it into Indeed. Oh, they found the candidate themselves. That's not good. So what you want to do is you want to protect your assets, your inventory, make sure they're unrecognizable. That's why you need to edit and create your own MPCs from scratch, from the very bottom up. You don't want anyone being able to backtrack and reverse engineer and find your candidate. Be paranoid. Paranoia helps you in this business. All right.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing, specifically about, your CTA being, let's hop on a phone. Because even if this person might not be the best person for the hiring manager, a call is a best way for you to convince them about your own expertise, right? Like, so if you go on a call and you start talking specifics about the person and you realize, okay, this is maybe not the best fit, but if you're talking to them, you can figure out more details and actually, showcase that you are an expert in this market, you're an expert in this niche, and, say, oh, you know what? I didn't realize that I've got 3 more other candidates who might be perfect fit for you. Let me send them over, right? So if you're not on the phone, if you're not, talking to them face-to-face or over a call, right? Like you completely miss this opportunity. And that's why the purpose of all of this is to get that 5-minute, 10-minute conversation out of your hiring manager.
And I think that's absolutely the mindset you want to get into, is that you want that face time. You want that ability to make a connection with this person. Not only that, you have to think about your competitors. What are they doing? They're calling, right? You're not living in a vacuum. There are other people who are trying to get after the same customer, and they're going to be using their phones. Every single highly trained recruiter is trained to do phone sales. We were all trained to do phone sales. We have KPIs around phone sales. Around how much time are we spending a day on the phone, which is at least 2 hours. My times are sometimes 4 hours a day I'll spend on the phone just prospecting, right? And those conversations could last 30 minutes. A proper client conversation could be that long, right? So I think you have to be very conscious of what is best practice. Best practice in this industry is still leveraging all the 3 methodologies I described earlier. You can't really do it all if you're only using half of the strategies, right? It's all interlinked, and these activities are all very important for your business. So I think as you do these MPCs, you'll start learning what is more apt to get you a response and what is not so great. Maybe your response rates weren't so good, but these are what I've noticed have worked for me, right? Like you want to keep it short. When you get a huge email and it's like a, Harvard entrance level, university, these high, like, it's like, no, it's too long. People are immediately going to be like, spam, right? This is too long. It's like, essay length. If people have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, you're already you're definitely not going to convert, right? It's too long. So it has to be short. Same for the phone, right? Your phone sell should really be fast, just like the example I gave earlier, right? Really clear, really fast. You can't be there, oh, I got a candidate and they do medical writing and they have a good experience in medical writing. They do a medical writing for 2 years. Some things too long, too slow, right? So you got to know like how the other person's feeling, and they're not feeling great. But when you're like, hey, got a medical writer for you. They've been doing it for 6 years, working on ISS and ISEs. They live in Princeton, right down the street from XYZ Pharma. I thought to reach out to you because this person, immediately they're like, and what. They're following your speed, because remember, hiring managers are successful. Successful people are smart. Smart people are fast because they have to be efficient with their time. So if you're going to take a long time to do something very simple, they're not going to trust you. And so you have to do things fast, and you have to speak clearly and articulately. So now make sure that you view, especially with your emails, every single sentence should be adding value to the email. There's so many emails I see that have a bunch of gibberish. It's like cross out, cross out, cross out. None of this needs to be said. I'm Dandan. I'm reaching out from ABC Recruitment. Does not need to be said. You clearly are somebody reaching out from somewhere. Does not need to be said. Jump straight into, I got a medical writer for you. Done. They don't care. Remember, they don't care about you, your business, how long you've been in business. They don't care. They're just like, what do you have for me that I can leverage today? Right? We live in a transactional society, which isn't bad. It just means people are busy and efficient. So you have a short window of opportunity to explain who you are and what you do and why you're so special, right? So this is why you got to be short and concise. Now, MPC critical. Listen up. If there's one thing you take away from this training, MPC critical tip. Do not send candidates who are not gold level or platinum level. What I mean by this is I have a personal methodology as it relates to coaching on how you should be evaluating every single candidate. There's certain candidates and there's whole metrics. I have podcasts and trainings about this. But basically, you cannot be representing a bronze candidate on an MPC. It will not convert. MPCs have to be almost as good as a unicorn. That's what's going to convert. The candidate has to look so desirable that the client's like, fine, I'll talk to you. It looks good. If it's like, oh, I got a candidate who's recently laid off, stop right there. That is not a gold candidate. Oh, I have an unemployed person. They've been out of work for 6 months. Not a gold candidate. It's not going to convert. You need I got a 3-year guy or gal who's been promoted the last 3 years back to back to back, and she's being underpaid. Boom, that's a gold candidate. That's a unicorn find. That's a freaking deal right there. You have to understand, what is the client interested in? Because the client is not interested in someone who's struggling in their career, someone who hasn't worked on important key documents, somebody who has a hoppy track record, 1 year here, 3 months there, not a gold candidate. So that's very important. Your MPCs will not work if they're not good enough. Now, the last...
Sorry, I want to say something here, Dandan. So one, I was told, I was discussing MPC, and this is something that I picked up from a customer, right? Like, and she said, right, like the candidate should be so good that they are the reason that the hiring manager gets their next promotion, right? If you have that, that's your MPC, right? That's your MPC right there, right? And so that is, one way to think about what Dandan just said.
Right. And the key here too is variety. You want a variety of MPCs. You want your MPCs to look different, right? This one's a senior person who's been in the industry for 2-3 years after a PhD. This one's a master degree person who's been in the industry for 6 years. Everybody's a little bit different. You want to switch it up, right? It can't just be the same profile every time. I got a 3-year guy. I got a 3-year girl. I got a 3-year guy. I got a 3-year. That's all you have, 3 year. That's weird, right? So you need variety. It's like a repertoire, right? Your inventory has to be diverse. It cannot be the same thing every time. It has to be a little bit different so that the clients are like, wow, this person really has the whole vertical market, right? They got director level, they got manager level, they got, 1 year out of school level, they have it all. So that's what makes a recruiter more applicable, because they're like, oh, good, because I don't just need a director today. Today, I need a 2-year person. I'm going to call up Dandan. She has all of them, right? So you want to show that you have variety, not just one thing, unless, obviously, you are specifically an executive headhunter in which all of your candidates are at a certain level or above, which is obviously something to be considered, right? When I did executive search, I had a whole different MPC strategy, but I still kept a lot of my key MPC components. But obviously, your profiles are going to look a lot different. If you're representing a CEO or a chief medical officer, it's going to look very different. Things that I mentioned, the don'ts, are very clear, right? Just one thing here, we mentioned, do not commoditize your candidate. That particular point means don't make them sound like property. Make them sound human. So say this person is really happy in their current role. However, they've never looked outside of their firm. Don't just say, here's a candidate. They know how to write documents. Do you like them? Right? Like, it's got to be a story. What's the story? What's their situation? Where they're at? Right? This person is starting to think about the role next because they got a friend that recently left through my services, and now she's got her thinking maybe she needs to look. Right? Don't commoditize the product. Make the product sound human, because the product is a human. Right? Make them sound interesting. There's a backstory here. There's like a real story that makes the product look more real, less like just like a send out, right? Otherwise, it's like, there's no story here. And who knows if this is even a real candidate, right? There's no story, right? You humanize the product and you actually make it look and feel more real. And therefore, the hiring manager is like, oh, this is a story element, right? I don't want to beat the horse to the death, but that's basically the idea. All right, so here's what a email would look like. Very, very simple, right? The title, very simple, right? Senior medical writer, 4 years plus, Princeton, New Jersey, or wherever the heck, right? So keep it real clear. Don't be like, Dandan from ABC Pharma says hi to you, or like, hi, are you interested in candidates? Like, nothing like that. Just exactly what the email is, right? I'm sending you a 2+ year senior regulatory medical writer, NDA experience, right? Then the rest is, hi, blah, blah, blah. I always like doing like a hope you're well. That's my opener. That's like a tick that I have. I just like, hope you're having a nice day. I hope you're happy Friday. Like, I'm one of those people. And then I'll just say, like, recently I reconnected with this senior medical writer that lives in Princeton. So every day it's going to look different. Today, I recently connected with a senior medical writer from Pennsylvania. Another day, I might write an email that says, I recently headhunted this particular candidate. Another day, it's like somebody referred this candidate to me. Right? Every day, it's something a little bit different. It's not always the same. It's not always like, oh, I have a candidate. Oh, I have a candidate. No, there's a story. There's always a story element into my writing. And I always want to keep it realistic, right? The other day, I was speaking to a couple people and I kept hearing this particular candidate's name pop up. And I was very glad that I called them at work and was able to successfully headhunt them. They have a background of 4 years in medical writing, doing ISS and ISE. I'm very interested to see what you think of their profile. Here's their resume for a quick review. Let me know what time works for a quick call, right? So your variety, that variety is really key here. And this is what's so beautiful about AI and different tools that I know Manan is working on, which is to help with these templates, which is to help with the variety, help with the word, the language, the word usage, right? Keep it exciting, keep it flexible. Don't just be a one-trick pony here. All right, here's another sample of what it actually looks like. You're more than welcome to take a screenshot. And this is how short it is. I don't think you even have to scroll here if you look at the screenshot. I don't even think you have to scroll. It's super short. Sometimes the shorter the better, because you don't want people to think, wow, this person's just spamming this out, right? It looks like I actually wrote this email because it's short. So short, but every single word is strategic, right? I'm so excited to be representing this top medical writer who is keen to consider new opportunities that are coming down the pipeline. This particular candidate has blah, blah, blah. I don't like bullets because, again, what do bullets look like? Very spammy, very like transactional. It's not proper writing, right? Does a novelist write with bullets? No, the novelist writes a story, right? So that's kind of my idea here is you don't want to just do ... You try it though. Again, there's no like, oh, this is the only writing that you should do. You can try it. You can try, okay, maybe today I'll do bullets. All right, this candidate has 3. You can try it. Again, there's variety. Remember back to that idea of variety, experimentation. There's no right or wrong. There are some general definitely don'ts, but some of this is also personal preference. What I have seen when people do bullets, though, it looks very generic. It starts making the candidate look, again, less human because it's just like, this house has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, newly renovated kitchen. Transactional. You're making the candidate look very commoditized. That's why, in my personal opinion, I don't like bullets that much. But that's a personal choice. All right. So that's pretty much it, guys. I think this gives you a good idea of, what the MPC process looks like and a couple key to-dos and a couple key to-don'ts. And most importantly, how are you going to clean your data, keep your data nice and organized so that when you do send out those email campaigns through your system, they're all going to the right people. When you do that, this system works flawlessly. I will say one more thing before we open it up to Q&A for you to watch out for. Do not expect from the MPC process to have 30 responses in your email. Do not expect that. The actual hit rate is very, very low. There are days that I will do maybe hundreds of MPC sendouts, different varieties, different locations, different people. I'll also send to hundreds of hiring managers, and I will get 1 or 2 responses. That's already a very good day. That's 1 or 2 live bites, right? You have to understand what's going on in the hiring manager's world. They might be reading your email going, this is a good email. I'm going to save this contact, but I'm not going to respond today. I'm going to see if they have more of these. Then the second email, they're going to not respond. They're going to read it. Oh, this is another good email. Okay, who is this headhunter? They might go on the internet and look. That's why calling is so important. Calling is how you get that person to respond. Hey, I've now sent you 2 emails. I wanted to see what you thought of my candidates. What did you think of the 2 profiles? What's going on in your current firm? That's why the phone is so critical, because if you're just waiting for email responses, you'll be waiting a very, very, very long time because the hit rate is very, very low. And the reason is because the hiring managers are evaluating who you are, getting familiar with your content, and they might not be hiring right away. What you'll also find out whenever you start a new industry or a new market is that the clients that do respond are likely not the best clients, because now they're really struggling to find good candidates. They have no good recruiters working for them, and you're the one they get back to. So every time I start a new market, I started 3 new markets now. The first 2 or 3 clients are not the best, but they keep you alive so that you can migrate towards bigger and better clients. Because in the beginning, it's always the most desperate people that get back to you. Oh my God, it looks great. Let's talk. Not always a good thing, just something to watch out for. All right, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. One more common mistake that I have seen, and I've seen a lot of recruiters, they start doing MPC, they, as Dandan said, like you send out 100, reach out to 100 people in a day, excellent outreach, and you get maybe one person getting back to you. And that's a fantastic day, right? Like as Dandan said, right? Like you think that most people don't realize is that, let's say you're doing outreach, instead of MPC, you're doing your traditional business development outreach where you're saying, I'm this amazing headhunter in this particular niche, right? So you are starting at the very top of the funnel, right? Like if somebody responds to you, right? Like if you do 100 people, 10 people will say, you know what, let's talk. On a good day, out of those 10 conversations, you will get one placement, right? Because there's a long process, right? Like you have to agree terms. First, you have to close that client, you have to agree terms, you have to then get the job order, and then you have to actually place somebody, right? Here, you are starting straight at the last step of the funnel. You are starting straight, hey, I've got this candidate, would you like to hire them, right? So one MPC response is probably equivalent to getting 10 or maybe even more, depending on what your funnel looks like, responses on your, ordinary business development top of the funnel outreach, right? So what happens is you're doing a lot of the top of the funnel outreach, you're getting a lot of responses, you're having a lot of conversations, right? So all that activity makes you feel that you are doing something, you are successful, right? Like you are getting somewhere, but, it is very common for me to see that a lot of people, mistake that activity for, for any output or for any action, right? So just for you to keep that in mind, we have a lot of questions pouring in. I want to start with my own question first before I go to everybody else's. And so very early, right? Like we spoke about calling, right? Do you have, and we looked at a couple of great examples of really, really fabulous MPC emails. Any tips, maybe a script that or a script structure that somebody should follow when you're making a let's say a lukewarm or a cold call to a hiring manager?
Yes. So let's go back to this. All right. Let's go back right here. This is basically the same template that you're going to be doing on the phone. But the key here with phone sales, in my eyes, is the enthusiasm. And I'm a big fan of, I teach a lot of communication tips. And as a 23-year-old starting a business from scratch, when I joined my recruitment firm, I had 0 clients, 0. And so I had to build a candidate network from having literally 0 jobs for them. I had to build a candidate network, a client network from having 0 real candidates for them, right? So it's like a chicken and the egg problem. And the thing that worked for me is sounding like a professional, sounding like you really know what you're talking about, especially when you're that young. When I was 23 years old, I was like this, like me and my girlfriends, like when you're talking to clients, you have to have your phone sales voice on. That's like first step is like, I'm going to use down speak. I'm going to speak down. I'm going to sound very knowledgeable. And then I'm going to have my whether it's bullets or key points that I want to drive. And like I said, on that first call, this is how I literally do it. Pick up the phone. Hey, and they pick up. Oh my God, Sarah, I'm so glad you picked up. I always do this or some version of this. The reason why I do that is because it throws them off. First of all, they're like, who is this? Clearly, it's not a bot. It's a real human. Who is it? So firstly, I always catch people's attention. Look, and I'm going to boast a little here. People always say in sales, people hang up on you. That never honestly, never happens to me. I have to tell you, it rarely happens to me because I'm sorry, I'm very charismatic. And very few people hang up the phone on me. All right. Very, very few people. And it's because I'm entertaining, I'm engaging, I have a nice voice. I was a singer. I'm still a singer. So I know how to control my vocal tone and the cadence of my speaking so that the candidate or the client is like, who is this lady? what is her deal? Who the hell is this Dan, right? Like they get very confused. Who is she? So you got to kind of create a persona. And I call this is Sasha Fierce. You know, Beyonce, right? She is an introvert. She is not who you think she is. When she performs, she is Sasha Fierce. That's how she gets up in front of millions of people and does her amazing work. And that's kind of what you want to do, right? You want to kind of create this alter ego of like who I am in my regular day-to-day life and who I am as a sales guru, right? Who is that person? And how is she or he going to sound like? So, hey, I'm so excited I got a hold of you. You know, I've been trying to reach you for a while. I sent you a few emails now with the medical writers that I've been recruiting in the Jersey area. Now, I've recently got a hold of this really, really passive candidate. Like she is not actively looking. She's been in the same firm for the last 4 years. She's been mainly working on ISS and ISEs. And I would love to see like what's happening at Celgene. What's going on at Celgene this year, right? Like I'd love to hear what you think of this type of profile because you might not be actively hiring, which is fine. I just want to know kind of what's going on at Celgene. How do these profiles match up with the type of people you normally look for? That is long-winded. I wouldn't even recommend that. Sometimes I just say like, hey, I go through my pitch and I'm like, what do you think of this profile? That's it, right? Like just have one open question. Start it open questions only. So another big mistake. This is the most common mistake recruiters make on the initial cold call. And it's, hi, my name is Dandan. I'm calling from ABC recruitment firm. Do you have a minute to speak? You're dead.
No.
You're dead. The answer is no, I do not have time to speak.
It's always
F off. Don't ever call me again. Who the hell are you? Like they're so angry because it's so basic, right? It's so basic. You're like, this is exactly what you would say. Like you would exactly say that, Don at ABC recruitment firm. Like you would exactly say that lame crap. Don't be lame. Be exciting. Be different, right? That's why you come in, you're hot. Hey, I can't wait to talk to you. I'm so excited to get you on the phone because I got this amazing medical writer in New Jersey. You know, probably out of everyone, how hard it is to find these people. Okay. Who are you? Right? Now they're curious. Who is this crazy lady? Who is this like dynamic person? All right. No, okay. Who's this person? Right? You got to get them interested in you. Relationships, right? All right. So that's kind of my tip on cold calling is you got to have some sort of differentiator. So you're not just a basic recruiter being like, do you have a moment? Closed questions are the kiss of death. Can I have a moment of your time? Can you give me some feedback? No. What do you think of the candidate's profile? What are your thoughts on their specific experience with NDAs? What is the experience that your team currently now has with the NDA process? What are the key issues with NDAs that potentially new medical writers that could bring to your team could help, right? Like open questions. What, who, what, when, where, why, how. You should reprogram your brain to only speak in open questioning. All right. So that's my tip.
Just find Dandan on LinkedIn. She is prolific. And you can ask all of those questions to her on LinkedIn. All of her coordinates are available on the screen as well. So please note that down. We are going to send all of this information along with the recording and Dandan's socials in the follow-up email that goes after the webinar. So you can find her, do follow her. And thank you. This has been an incredible session, Dandan.
Well, it was so nice to spend this time with you, Manan. I really appreciate it. And I encourage everyone to go to my website. I have a book out. I have training courses out. I do monthly free trainings. So make sure you sign up. And that way we can stay in touch. And tons of free coaching on the DG Recruit podcast too.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yes, I forgot to mention that. It's and she really gets A players, gets them to spill the beans on the great tactics, right? So do check that out as well. Well, thank you so much, Dandan. You have a great day.
You too. Take care, everyone.